You're listening to Under the Crossbones. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Welcome to episode number 74 and week 2 of our Pirates of the Caribbean run. Week 2 of 2. It makes it sound like I'm going to have way more of that, but it's week 2 of 2 with my guest Lee Arenberg today, who is Pintel from Pirates of the Caribbean 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, super fun talk. He's going to give us some his experience with the film. He's going to tell us how a creepy little girl made it possible for Pirates of the Caribbean to be made like they wanted it to be made. He's going to tell us about which cartoon character that Johnny Depp added into his sort of Keith Richards thing to create the Jack Sparrow character. Lots of fun stuff happening in this episode. You're going to really dig it. But first, episode 74. Fun fact about the number 74. A 74 was a type of a two-decked sailing ship which nominally carried 74 guns. It was a 74-gun, two-deck sailing ship that was developed by the French Navy in the 1740s, and then it spread to the British Royal Navy, where they classed it as a third-rate ship. So I don't know why it was only third-rate. 74 guns, 2 decks, seems like a big ship to me. I don't know. But that's what it is. It's called a 74 because it had 74 guns, so duh. So, yeah, lots happening in this talk with Lee Arenberg. We're going to talk lots and lots of Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. I am working on some guests to bring on before Pirates of the Caribbean 5 comes out in May. So keep your fingers crossed on that. I'm looking into it. I'm trying to get some good names. By the way, Pirates of the Caribbean 6 also announced, but no information. There's no script. All we know is Johnny Depp already signed on for it. So there is going to be a 6, and that will probably be the last film. So there we go. There's that. It's been not a super exciting week. I've been out doing some little sets to prep a 5-minute set for a competition show that's coming up on the 17th. If you're listening to this tonight, as the day this comes out. But one thing that did pop up recently is I had my annual checkup recently, and they did a blood test for like cholesterol and lipids and what all they take you 5 vials of blood and they do their magic with it, and then they come back and tell you what's wrong with you. So found out that I have high cholesterol. Now, last time I had checkup, they were like, it's a little high, don't worry about it. Now it's high. Now it's officially high, like the nurse went, ooh, really high. So I'm figuring out how to lower my cholesterol, which is weird. I don't eat that bad, and I'm not terribly overweight. Everybody can lose 10 pounds, right? That's where I am. But so now I got to figure out how to eat even better than I am. Man, do I hate salads. I definitely hate salads. Now there's more of them in my life. And so that's not exciting. And but I don't know. I eat a lot of eggs in the morning, which I hear now is not a bad cholesterol thing. But now I'm gonna I don't know, cut back on the eggs, see if that helps. So anyway, if you have any tips for how to lower cholesterol, something that has worked for you. I know you're not a doctor. You only play one on TV. But if you have any tips that will keep me off of cholesterol drugs, because I don't want to take those. Those are a drag. I'd rather do it through diet. But I'm exercising and stuff. I lost like 4 pounds this week. So that's all good. Anyway, yeah, how old am I now? I must be old enough where I'm talking about my health issues in a public forum. Let's stop that. Let's not do that. Let's talk about better stuff. I got tour dates coming up. Yes, I do. Tonight, January the 17th, that's Tuesday, I will be at the San Jose Improv. It's a competition show. If you come out, you vote for me, I get something. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. Thursday, January the 19th, I will be headlining at Trek Wine in Novato, California. Friday, January the 20th, I'll be headlining at the D'Argenzio Winery in Santa Rosa, California. Tuesday, January the 24th, I'll be at O'Malley's in Mountain View, California. Friday, January 27th, headlining the Underdog Wine Bar at Concannon Winery in Livermore, California. Oldest winery in California. Pretty neat place. Thursday, February 2nd, I'll be headlining the Tasting Room in Fresno, California. And then Saturday, February the 4th, I will be at the Ukiah Valley Conference Center in Ukiah, California. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so looking forward to that show. That is always a fun show. I've done it, 3 or 4 times now, and super, super fun. Love the people of Ukiah. They're great folks. Lots more coming up. I know all those are California dates. I also have Oregon, Washington, Missouri, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Florida, all on the books for this year. So make sure you hit the tour dates page where they will all be announced very soon. I don't think they're quite up there yet, but they'll be announced soon in all those various states and more. You can always go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button. Oh, one quick note. I know the show notes for this show, underthecrossbones.com/074. And you may hear me say that and go, yeah, that's what you said the last 2 weeks, Phil. And I'll be like, yeah, you don't have to be like that about it. But here's what happened. I forgot to put up the little short link for episode 72 and 73. So if you went to underthecrossbones.com/072 or 073, you were met with a, sorry, this page isn't here. My apologies for that. Totally my fault. This is a one-man operation here. And I just forgotten to set up the link to do that. They're set up now. So if you wanted to check out the show notes for episode 72 or 73, underthecrossbones.com/072 or 073 or 074 for this show. They'll all be there. I'll try and be better about that. I apologize for that. If you are enjoying the show, and I hope you are, come join us over on Facebook, facebook.com/underthecrossbones. Twitter, I overpronounced the T's there. The Twitter, twitter.com/undercrossbones. And, of course, make sure that you're subscribed to the show through iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play or iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure that you're subscribed. You get all the new episodes right first thing Tuesday morning, automatically downloaded to your device, and it's all good. And if you're listening over on Pirate Radio, The Treasure Coast, welcome. I've recently seen some stats about where we have listeners. Hello, Paris. Hello, Morocco. Hello, Germany. Hello, Florida. Lots of Florida. So hello to everybody listening around the world. Very excited to have you listening in. And if you would like to help support the show, that would be spiffy, man. Go to the underthecrossbones.com/support page. Right there's a little PayPal box where you can dump a little donation in there. $2, $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever you want to put in there is cool. There's also a little Amazon banner. Click that Amazon banner. Go buy yourself something nice. Amazon gives me a little kickback to help the show. It doesn't cost you anything at all except what you're paying already for whatever you're going to buy yourself. I don't know, above ground pool, pair of skis, new watch, whatever. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, that is super cheap and easy, and we can take care of that. Also, go to the underthecrossbones.com/support page, and we can hook you up with that. Okay, let's get into my interview with Lee Arenberg. This is Pintel from Pintel and Ragetti. And if you're not sure who I'm talking about, look at the picture in the show notes, and you'll be like, oh, that guy. He also plays Grumpy on Once Upon a Time. So this is a good dude to be talking to. All right, here we go. Lee Arenberg. Enjoy the talk. Are best known, especially to my crowd, as Pintel from Pirates of the Caribbean. And I was looking at the pictures of it, and what's interesting is not only the makeup, which is great, but just the way that you change your facial expression. Can you tell me a little bit about what you had to do with your face in order to come off as that character? Because it looks so different from you, even regardless of the makeup.
I'll be honest. I'll let the makeup do all that for me. And I don't even think about it.
Okay.
I mean, I did a lot of work, obviously, on the voice, and on the dialect, and as that was the easiest way for me to get fired off the job if I didn't sound English.
Right.
But, that was my lucky break on that whole thing is they couldn't find Short, Bald, and Crazy in London, right? Because they auditioned everyone out of England first, and then they cast Mackenzie, and they were trying to match up to him, and they couldn't. They needed, Gore was such a stickler for his casting, knowing that was going to be 95% of his job, get the right actor in the right role.
Right.
And then he can concentrate on his technical, the technical requirements of making the film. So, I put most of my efforts into the dialect, into the, getting that correct and making my mistakes on the other side of the ocean, if you will.
Okay.
And, I let the magic of the makeup transform the face.
Nice.
Right,
very
because
cool.
they aged it, they leathered it up around the eyes, they added the beard, and all the hair was fake. Kind of, I call Pintel Ben Franklin on crack.
I can see that. That totally makes sense. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So, and I would also, get to work it, and I'll look in the mirror occasionally and kind of see what I'm doing. But for the most part, I kind of let that just be whatever it's going to be.
Okay.
That transformation that comes through just kind of getting into character.
Sure. Yeah.
But, And I guess so each character you do will have different kind of facial expressions, but I think having an expressive face has helped me be a character actor for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. What I found interesting about it was that there was something in the eyes and the way that you held your mouth that brought out the dumbness of the character. And but then when he needed to be serious, that focus really came into your eyes. That's what I always thought was interesting about it.
Well, there is that. I mean, there were the giant contact lenses and the fake teeth.
Oh, okay.
That'll help shape the, face, and you're wearing like 24 mil scleral lenses to color the white of the eyes.
Okay.
With that jaundiced look, and then the teeth kind of click in, right? So there definitely was a bit of a shape difference, that goes through the process, but I don't really think about that as much as kind of let that happen.
Sure.
It's that part of it is not a conscious, anything that happened after that was just the magic of kind of quote getting into that character as opposed to any conscious decisions I made to do something different or try something.
Yeah. And the experience of having done it for so long too.
Yeah. I mean, I would say by the third movie, I think we'd suited up over 300 times, because there was about 150 days of shooting for each movie, which is a lot for a movie.
Yeah.
And I think Pintel and Ragetti probably worked 2/3 of the days. So I always say it's probably, I probably wore the thing over 300 times.
Right. And how long were you sitting in a makeup chair each time for that?
Well, it was a 2.5 hour makeup that by the end was down to about an hour 15.
Oh, okay.
It's about as long as it took. There's a lot of repetition. You're always being done, primarily by the same artist. There was probably only a handful of times I was done by someone other than Joe Harlow, who's an Oscar-winning, right? So his talent, his speed, that was a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there and taking it. The only kind of thing that you're participating in is a bit of help stretching the skin around the eyes to apply the kind of, they call it stretch and stipple latex,
right?
Which is applied directly to the skin. And then you have to kind of hold it in a stretch position as he kind of blow dries it and then powders it. And then once he's powdered the area, then you kind of crinkle it to activate the wrinkles and the leathering.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
Once I got past the stretch and stipple, then I'm pretty much sitting there getting painted and getting stuff glued on. So it's non-participatory after that. You're just the kind of like the dummy getting attacked at that point.
Now, I mean, you're no stranger to pretty heavy makeup because you've done Star Trek and all sorts of things. Is that
sure? Dungeons and Dragons, Star Trek. I mean, a lot of the jobs when it's close with the territory, right? To be able to take the makeup. Star Trek was by far the heaviest application. That's a 4.5 hour process only because they give them 4.5 hours. If they gave them 6 hours, it would be a 6 hour makeup, right? That's because you literally get painted all the way in. All of your exposed skin gets hidden behind either latex or some sort of, painted latex. So they use medical adhesive. They'll glue inside your lips and your eyebrows and all this nasty stuff that you have to kind of psych yourself up mentally for.
Sure, yeah.
And realize that when you're going to get a great paycheck because it requires like a 4 a.m. call time,
right.
And then you work all day, and then there's another hour to clean it. So you just think of the paycheck than those, I think, a lot of the time, the Star Trek.
As an actor, do you prefer the heavy makeup kind of stuff, or do you prefer just going raw with your own face and building a character from that?
I don't. You know what? I think it's job by job. Obviously, it's a lot easier on me physically to not go through the makeup repetitively.
Sure. Yeah,
it starts to add up for a while. Luckily, I have good skin, and one of the keys is kind of use the same product. Don't change the product. So if you find something that you're non-reactive to, stick with that all the way through the kind of application stuff as well as the cleanup, just so that your face is ready the next day to go again.
Right.
So that's a big key, is having just, the skin that can handle it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're getting, you might get some sort of issue and then you're still getting in the makeup. It's not like they suddenly give you a day off because your face is red or something.
Right. You have to have good skin so that they can make it look like you have terrible skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, get torn up. I mean, the pirate thing was, the paint they use, the tattoo ink that they use to paint the dirt and the grime on you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think I had that on my ankles for 6 months after the movies were done.
Oh my gosh!
Just before you could finally scrub it all the way off.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to actually having a real tattoo. Your ankles look permanently dirty, but that's par for the course. Pirate.
Yeah. Worst tattoo ever. Yeah.
Worst tattoo ever.
So tell me a little bit about the audition process and how you actually got the part.
Well, the audition process, that they basically came looking for kind of, like I say, short, bald, and crazy.
Uh-huh.
The audition went out, and I went in to just, meet the casting director at first. And I didn't know her. I had no relationship with her. So it wasn't like one of those, because a lot of times you'll go in the room and everyone's like, "Oh, how are you? I saw you on Broadway,"
sure,
or "You were so great in that movie." I didn't have any of that crap. So I pretty much went in there and kind of gave it my whirl, and I guess they really dug it. And then the tape went to Gore, who I then went and met with maybe a week or 10 days later, had an audition with him for a nice long 30, 40 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And that went really well. I mean, it kind of felt like, we clicked, and it was kind of like right there. By the time I left that audition, I walked out. There were still 5 or 6 actors to go in. I was the first one in the room, and they chased me out and came back, and he took my Polaroid and put it right up on the wall next to Mackenzie. So that was a good feeling, right? And then you had to kind of wait to get the approval of Bruckheimer in the studio and all that. So from like the first audition to actually getting the part, probably was maybe a 2.5 week kind of wait. And again, no one knew what was going on. I mean, you knew it was a pirate movie with Johnny, sort of based on the ride. God, you didn't know it was going to be a cultural phenomenon and something so badass to be part of.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to from the film said that they thought it was, because it was coming right after The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy, which was a giant bomb. And
actually, it came before. It got released before. Yeah. It got released before. It came after Country Bear Jamboree.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Which was also not.
Well, that was the one that sort of bombed and made them think like, well, why are we making a movie based on a theme park ride?
Right.
And they actually did all their investment and all their kind of marketing of toys and all that stuff for Haunted Mansion, thinking that would be the hit.
Right.
So they left our film alone. Right. In other words, there wasn't the McDonald's thing and the tie-in and all that came out after we came out and after it was a success. Then they did the McDonald's commercial where that's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen, and Johnny smiling and the ship sailing and the whole thing. That all happened after, right?
Right.
Now, when Pirates 2 came out, then we had the 50 million toys, and that was all planned and was going to be an attack on the pocketbooks of the pirate lovers of the world, kind of thing. Corporate attack.
A very successful one, as we've seen.
Yeah. And also, it's definitely like the pirates always really, represent to all of us that nonconformity in the ever conforming world. Right.
Sure.
So that was what was badass about Johnny's take on it and his, decision to base Sparrow on the rocks, figuring it was, the rock stars of their day.
Sure.
How he saw it. And that's where he got the Keith image. And then he kind of mixed in some Pepe Le Pew, according to him. And that's how he created Jack Sparrow. But I think obviously his epic turn, and the fact that, the world recognized the comedic performance as an excellent acting performance, right, which never happens kind of Oscar-wise and stuff. That also helped, right? And Johnny's rise to the biggest movie star in the world. There were so many things that contributed to the success of the flick. Them discovering Kira had only done Bend It Like Beckham. Orlando was relatively known, but not exposed as the handsome cat. He had the blonde hair and in the Lord of the Rings film. So, there was just, it was a lot of things that came together, obviously getting Jeffrey Rush to give us the gravitas and the legitimacy of a real actor making a pirate movie. There were just so many things along the way, right? Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that happens too often in this town where they get it right. They get them. They get the alchemy right.
Right.
And Gore as well. He had done a few things. Created the Budweiser Frogs. Had a couple of films, the Mouse Hunt and the Mexican, and then he did that film, The Ring.
Uh-huh.
And the success of The Ring in October of, I guess that would have been 2002, when we were just started filming, kind of unleashed the stranglehold that producers put on directors. Because he then delivered the #1 movie in the world for 3 weeks solid, and was sort of proven himself as a legitimate potential box office director.
Uh-huh.
And so then the reins were loosened, and his vision was allowed to kind of really be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so a lot of magic happened to make that movie successful, the least of which would have been, my contribution and the contribution of the hungry young actors trying to make their mark, kind of thing.
Well, we're all glad for that creepy little girl in The Ring then, because that apparently helped a lot.
Yeah, I think it really did. No, I mean, I definitely could see, like, literally on the set, the presence of every day 5 or 6 producer types watching, a lot of conferencing. And then over the course of that movie being successful, The Ring I'm talking about, each weekend being #1, I think it was 3 weekends in a row, less and less. And by the end, there was just Gore and the kind of working kind of line producers. And, there wasn't a constant presence of the executive level guys. They would just come in to check things out, but not there to supervise in a way that like something bad was going to happen on their investment. Right.
Interesting. So your characters for what was surrounding you in those films, as far as the actors and the strong characters and things like that, your and Mackenzie's characters really popped out as crowd favorites. It's so much so that by the third movie, you were playing a much bigger part in it. What do you think what was it about those characters that really clicked with people?
They were funny. Yeah. They were funny, like Shakespearean clowns, like the ability to comment on the action. I mean, in the first movie, we were still fairly like, that we weren't allowed to lose our bloodthirst, so we still had that, pirate, the element of danger about us.
Uh-huh.
But by really the second movie, we had been, they kind of recognized our comedic kind of the combination of the ability to do this double act, this kind of Laurel and Hardy thing that that the audiences loved, and then they wrote to that, And that's another thing too. Like the real success of the movie is the fact that, Ted and Terry, the writers, I mean, they'd already created Aladdin. They wrote Shrek.
Uh-huh.
These guys had come up with already brilliant things, and it always comes from the writing.
Sure.
You don't have a good script, you got no shot. Okay.
Right.
And, and so having those talented, legendary kind of writers kind of behind it, just invested. Now they never expected the film to be a franchise, right? They thought it was really going to be a one-off. So they threw every kind of kitchen sink pirate thing into that first flick.
Sure.
And then when it was successful, then they had to kind of re-engineer some of the jokes and some of the stuff to play for longer, right? So, I mean, it was a kind of happy accident, I would say, and very much due to the fact that the audience, just was inspired and went crazy, and it stayed in theaters for whatever it was, 9 months, 10 months in first run theaters, which is unheard of now.
Oh, certainly.
They don't do that anymore. And then by the second, when Dead Man's Chest came out, we were one of the first, if not the first movie to be on like every screen in a multiplex.
Right.
Where prior to that, it would be you'd have one screen, because the movies were long too. So at 2 hours 30, 2 hours 40, the movie theaters lost an extra showing.
Right.
They always prefer a 90 or 100-minute movie so they get the extra screening in the day. So with the length of our film, then, they decided, wow, let's try a different strategy where we now put it in, 4 out of the 6 theaters in the multiplex.
Uh-huh.
And so that's when that started as well. 2000, I guess that would be 5.
Yeah, which you also don't see a lot these days. I mean, you'll see it in a couple of theaters, but not taking over.
Yeah, you only see it with the blockbusters. You only see it with the, you'll only see it with the Star Wars. You'll only see it with the major Marvel kind of pictures. You'll only see it with those big, maybe a Fast and a Furious, something that they know can make 100 million in a weekend. They will mine every penny they can out of it as fast as they can.
Yeah, right. Yeah, hurry, do it quick.
Well, they don't want to, they just in case it's not as good as the trailer. They want to make sure they get the audience's money. I mean, it's hard, right? It's a very competitive market now with people, watching everything on their devices and streaming everything. And obviously, then with piracy and the idea of the international box office, that was a big, now it wasn't in P4, but that was one of the big successful things they did there, which was, didn't make as much money in North America as the first couple of 3 films, but where it killed was China, Brazil, Russia, because they simultaneously or even released it before there to prevent the piracy.
Oh, okay.
Right, get it out. That's how I interpret that.
Yeah. And so why do you think your characters were not in the 4th one?
I mean, I just think it came down to kind of like, I don't know, different director for one, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, I think it was just a matter of like, well, what's Mackenzie up to? He's always been a fairly big star in England. He had other projects going on. He had different things happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of vagaries that went into that. All of them disappointing to me, to be honest with you, because I wanted to be in them. But, it's life in the big city, right? Yep. It's Hollywood, not Fairwood. If everything was fair, I think I would have been in that one and the 5th one, to be honest with you. But, just a matter of how, and it's also, do they think you're as important as you think you are?
Sure.
Right. And value and all that crap comes into play,
Of course. Yeah.
Well, luckily when the last one came up, I've been doing the TV show for a while. So, recurring on the Once Upon a Time for the last 5 seasons. So at least I had something else. It wasn't like I was completely dead in the water with no wind in my sails. But, I mean, I would have jumped at the chance if everything had worked out to be in it. And I'm hoping that P5 is a giant hit, so maybe we get a crack at P6.
There you go. Yeah, that's the way to go. Yeah. So let's talk about Once Upon a Time. I don't watch Once Upon a Time all that much, but my girlfriend loves it, so she's super excited I'm talking to you. And so
it is a chick show. I mean, it's women. It's driven by our. That's one thing that show has been very, very successful in portraying powerful and successful women characters.
Absolutely.
So it's inspired a lot of women and. It's definitely one of the reasons why we've been on the air as long as we have, because of the 18 to 49 demographic, the person they want to sell the soap to.
Yeah.
They're the audience. So yeah, that's been a great fun ride,
And was getting that part connected to your pirate part at all, since they're both Disney?
No, I mean, maybe at one step along the way, but ABC TV and the movie studio, I mean, I don't think they have the same executives. Uh-huh. But it didn't hurt that I had been in something so successful, and that at least gave me some legitimacy, as an actor,
Yeah. And so tell me, you're playing Grumpy / Leroy on there. What kind of changes do you have to give to the acting between the fantasy parts of it and the real world parts of it?
Well, I mean, that's the same character. I mean, the fact is that in the fairy tale world, you're kind of it's the idealized version, and then he's been cursed and sent to the modern world with no knowledge that he's this magical character as he tries to fight his way back home.
Right.
And so I think that's but again, with those things, there are aspects of it, right? So Leroy's had his heart broken by having his love affair ruined, in the fairy tale world. So he kind of comes in with this kind of, grumpy, that's where the grumpiness comes from. Right. Sure. And, but again, it's like, it's the challenge of that show is kind of playing like multiple aspects of the same guy and kind of tracking like where he's at emotionally at any given point.
Right.
So that's the real fun challenge.
Is that ever hard to keep track of between the two different worlds?
I mean, not now.
Yeah.
I think initially when we were establishing it might have been something that we kind of looked to and tried to kind of keep track of.
Okay.
But I mean, those are the fun challenges. That's the kind of stuff that kind of makes your blood kind of percolate as an actor. And that's the kind of exciting stuff that you do that really makes it, really fun.
Yeah, nice.
You know?
So if we could, let's go back a little bit. How did you end up becoming an actor? Where do you come from originally?
I grew up in Santa Monica, actually, Southern California. And, my family was not in the business, but I kind of just always wanted to be, I don't know what it was when I was a young kid, just maybe the kind of excitement of doing a school play or two and kind of people liking it and loving attention, and liking that energy kind of coming my way. And then realizing that maybe there was something that really appealed to me. I mean, it was partially it was, wanting to like look up to actors as if they truly had they were special. That's what a young kid might see, being, the seductiveness of the screen and the TV and all that.
Sure. And
of course, once you get into it and pursuing it in real life, you find that that's a bunch of bullshit, but, at least at the start it was. And also, I dug the storytelling, I've just always been a bit of a natural storyteller. And so I come from the theater. Like my first kind of professional union was the stage union.
Oh, okay.
And I started a theater company with my buddies from UCLA called the Actors Gang. And that's like Tim Robbins and Jack Black came out of our group.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Kyle Gass was my old roommate from Tenacious D, and we were all college friends. Jack's a little younger than us, but the rest of us kind of were all in school together in the early 80s. And, we were being taught in theater school that you just go out and make theater. That's how you do it. And so we started doing that from a young age. I think I started doing shows in Hollywood when I was about 18, and they were big hits. And again, that was something that was really exciting and a fun kind of use of your time. But you spend 20 years working every day at something, and you're going to eventually get good at it.
Right.
It's just practice. Yeah.
Interesting. Theater in LA is an interesting beast. It's always sort of like the weird little brother of the acting game down there.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's like, a lot of it's showcasing, trying to get into kind of the film and TV business. But really, if you're not acting, then you're not an actor, kind of a thing. It's one of those things where you can call yourself anything you want in life, but you kind of actually have to be doing something to get the active verb going for you.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. So I think and it kind of is mostly I think at any given night, there's more theater in LA than there is in New York, to be honest with you.
Oh, for sure.
There's just a lot of little theater. It's just a matter of like people seeing your show.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of great theater that goes on every day here in Los Angeles. It's just a matter of getting the audience. People don't like to leave their homes or drive across town. So you got to do something that creates a bit of a sensation to get the crowd coming,
Yeah, of course. That's, I know it well. I'm a comedian. That's what I do for a living. So I know that task of drawing the crowd. Yeah.
So it's, you just got to get on the road. You got to write your material. Yep. You got to get up and perform it. You got to get comfortable doing it. And it's repetition. And, it's acting is definitely, it doesn't always happen this way, but for the most part, people work 30 years to get discovered overnight.
Of course. Yeah. Now, on that note, was there a project that you consider your big break, or was it just very gradual all the way through?
Yeah. I don't know. You could say it was Pirates because, then my name at least was recognizable. But to be honest with you, even after Pirates, people thought it was English or what have you, right? So, and even with Once Upon a Time, they don't realize a lot of times you'll see like on my Twitter or something where I didn't know that Pintel is grumpy. And, it used to piss me off a little bit because I'll be like, you don't want that and you have the ego needs. But at the end of the day, that's sort of a compliment anyway.
Sure.
You're you disappear into the characters. The first kind of roles that got me kind of recognized around town or on an airplane or at an airport. Tales of the Crypt that I did years in like 1990. I started in episode Tales from the Crypt, and then I was on Seinfeld. Okay. And the Seinfeld, when I did it in the early 90s and again in the late 90s was such a cultural kind of phenomenon when 40 million people would watch TV in that must-see TV kind of window. So that would get you a standing ovation at the dog park. You know what I mean? And get recognized. And it started there. But again, it was like, being an actor, it's kind of there's definitely like pros to it and definitely cons to it. And one of the big cons to it is, somebody will be like, they don't know you, they don't know your work, and you're trying to, you again, it's ego driven, a lot of us shit that we do. So, you'd list your whole resume and they wouldn't know who you were. At the end, you'd be like, oh, great. Well, I guess I'm worthless. And then, after Pirates, at least I knew I could go, Ello, poppet, and then watch I knew I had them because they wouldn't necessarily know who I was, but, I knew they'd seen me because the world saw those films, right? So at the end of the day, because Pintel and Ragetti, people didn't know our character names either. They don't, I think they say that they only say our names like 2 or 3 times in any of the movies, and not till like the 3rd movie. So, that became, people got to know the character names way after they knew the characters. I mean, I used to be like, what do we call it? I was like, I was always the guy with like the wood eye, you know what I mean? Or wooden eye's buddy or something was the way to describe which character, if I didn't do the yellow poppet line.
Yeah. As a character, as any actor, really, to see an actor disappear into the part to the point where you don't realize that it's that actor anymore is, I always think, the most impressive thing. Because when you see Tom Cruise in a movie, you always know it's Tom Cruise. It's always Tom Cruise, and he's always going to be Tom Cruise. But when you see somebody really disappear into the character, it's not as good for the ego, but it's much, much better for the storytelling, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is. But, I mean, that's why those guys are movie stars, right? I mean, you don't want them to lose that completely. You always want to be able to find your Tom Hanks or your Tom Cruise in the role, your Denzel. I mean, that's what you're paying them for.
Sure.
You don't want to lose that entirely, so you don't want to cover their face with tons of makeup if you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we each have different functions, and their function is to, like, sort of disappear into the everyman quality, and ultimately the best performances of those movie stars. Because obviously a Tom Cruise, if you watch Last Samurai versus, say his Mission Impossible or something else, there's going to be a difference. He's doing something. He's definitely a hell of an actor. It's just a matter of getting the credit of the audience realizing that he is transforming in playing these roles, right?
Yeah.
But you can, us the fellow actors, we see it. We know the aspects of it. And obviously there's a difference between a guy's personality when they say action and when they say cut. And that also trends. That's a big part of it too, right?
Yeah. Nice. And so outside of Once Upon a Time, what else are you working on these days?
I'm pursuing, I'm just like on the hustle, like always, right? I mean, that's been lucky. That's kind of dominated my, my ability to kind of survive in the last few years. But yeah, I'm out there auditioning and bombing or doing well. I mean, it's just like the kind of actor life. You just never know, right?
Yep,
it's hard to find stuff. The older you get in this town, the more everyone that comes up against you has got a long resume too and a lot of great work. So, I mean, it's always like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. It just doesn't get any easier. If anything, it gets tougher, to try and get the gigs. When I was young, you could happily be typecast and kind of find your way into like a lot of thuggish comedic kind of, roles, pair me with a big tall guy, a big, another little guy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always on the hustle, man. I mean, I'm trying to get whatever I can get when it's right, and I think that never changes, that desire to kind of still kind of work and be told you're awesome. Yeah. That's kind of one of the traps we all live in,
I know it well. That's cool.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
So where's a good place for people to keep up with you online and the stuff you're doing?
I mean, I think the best place for me normally would be like Twitter. I think is probably the one I'm most active on, you know what I mean? And just keep your eye out. I mean, sometimes that's a trap too. Like, so I'm at Lee Arenberg on the Twitter. I'm on the Facebook. I'm on all that. But at the end of the day, even sometimes that runs a little hollow.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's funny because there's a time, 5 years ago, I would have been so enthusiastic about all that social media, but now it just sort of seems like, it's a bit of a trap.
Yeah.
In terms of like, I kind of want to be. I kind of like being an artist. I kind of like I want some of my anonymity back. Not the anonymity of my work kind of image. But, it's like people, the fans, with the ability to talk to people and have these contacts with you, it's almost like they get too much information out of you.
Yeah.
They almost like it's almost too much at times. Right.
Yeah.
But, I do think that, they're very powerful tools if used correctly, know, and I think interviews like this and, the best stuff to do is kind of like, land another big fish.
Sure.
Out there fishing, man, and land another big marlin, and then let the studio and let the people that want to promote kind of push you out there.
Right.
So, busy. Meanwhile, I'm busy living a life.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And, I enjoy that aspect of it too. So it's a balance. It's trying to get balance in your life, brother. I mean, I think that's the real goal for all of us kind of artists that have to kind of be commercial, to survive. It's just finding the balance between the public and the private and having them both in equal portions,
Right.
But I wind up doing many, I'll travel the world doing a lot of the Comic-Con kind of shows and the convention appearances. And that's a great way to kind of catch up with your actors and come see us live and meet us. And, we'll do autographs and we talk and we do panels. And that's a fantastic thing that's kind of come up in the last 5-7 years. And, for all of us actors in Hollywood is a way to kind of keep connected with our fans. And so that's a lot what I use my social media to promote that. And, when I get stuff going on, or the problem is that there's a lot of dreamers out there, and I love dreamers, but they don't pay the rent.
Right.
So separating the bullshit from the real is kind of like, and you'll wind up getting involved in a lot of these things that are like people that want to make a movie and they want to attach you to it, and you think it's a great idea, but there's no money.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, the stuff that really pays the bills is the stuff you got to kind of lock onto.
Sure, absolutely.
And the rest of it, you just got to take with that grain of salt. And it's like, would you rather be rich or famous?
Right.
And some, maybe the truth is it's like you'd rather be somewhere in the middle. Be enough to live comfortably. You don't want to be too famous that you can't go out anywhere, but you want to be recognized for your abilities within this kind of pool of talent, so that they'll come to you and give you opportunities.
Yeah, certainly.
And and that's, I'm always looking for balance. I think that's that kind of key thing that kind of keeps you sane. Because the worst thing that can happen is you start believing your own bullshit,
right?
And you start thinking that you're awesome, and then the ego gets out of control, and it happens to every one of us, at times along the route. And it's that kind of stuff that gets you humbled faster than anything.
Right.
So like trying to keep that in check and trying to keep your, kind of keep it in perspective. And I think that's kind of where I'd like to go in this next phase. I'd love to keep working as much as possible. I'm always hungry to work, but you want to be in the right projects. You want to get the right kind of exposure, and that's the key. That's the key. That's the game.
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been super great, Lee. I'm really glad we finally got a chance to do this after a couple of aborted attempts.
Yeah, no problem, brother. It's always worth the wait. Anything good is always worth taking a little time, making sure you do it right. So
For sure.
This is perfect, man. Yeah, and I appreciate it too, brother.
Oh, absolutely. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you want everybody to know?
Well, just how much I appreciate the fans, and how much, like I've been very lucky to live a great life thanks to the fans, and that, our art form as actors, is dependent on an audience.
Certainly.
It's one of the only, they're intrinsic to the relationship. And so I have a lot of respect for my audience because I want to be able to respect myself. And, I think that I just really, I live a beautiful life. I joke that I live at the beach thanks to you guys, and there's a lot of truth to that in that, you're only as good as your audience and your respect for the audience, the people you're telling the story for. There's a great story in theater about, you're playing in an 800-seat theater and it's a storm outside. It's a terrible storm. So only like 30 people show up that night in an 800-seat theater. That's going to be your best performance of your life.
Right.
Because those 30 people really wanted to come see that show that night.
Yep, absolutely.
So Yeah, and I think that's the most important. My most important message always is just a message of thanks, of gratitude. That without the audience, you're nothing, and that we truly appreciate it. And they're the people we tell the stories for, and they define our art form. So it's a team effort, and I'm just happy to be on the team. To be honest with you.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
thank you so
hey,
much.
buddy.
I appreciate your time.
My pleasure, brother. If you ever need anything, give me a shout.
I will. Hope we can talk again soon.
I look forward to it, my friend.
All righty. Talk to you later.
Have a good day, Bill.
You too.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And there it is, friends. That was my talk with Lee Arenberg, known as Pintel from Pirates of the Caribbean, Uno, Dos, and Trace, or as Grumpy from Once Upon a Time, if you are a lady type who watches that show. My girlfriend loves that show. I can't deal with fairy tale characters that have problems. Anyway, if you like the show, I'm glad you like the show. But great talk with Lee. That was fantastic. I'm never going to look at The Ring the same way again. I might have to watch that. They're doing a remake of The Ring, I think. Maybe they're using that to pay for Pirates of the Caribbean 6. I don't know. Maybe there's a connection there. But yeah, that little girl creeped me the hell out because she's creepy. Anyway, great talk. If you want to find out more about Lee online, go visit him at Lee Arenberg on Twitter. That is the best place to check him out, all right? Heads up, Texas Pirates, and anyone else in the vicinity of Grand Prairie, Texas. Are you ready for this? Mark your calendars. Saturday, February the 11th, for Pirates on the Prairie 6. This is an annual concert hosted and headlined by the Bilge Pumps, who you've heard on this show. Everybody loves the Bilge Pumps, right? They're going to be bringing their fun-drenched show full of comedy music to the Uptown Theater there in Grand Prairie, Texas. You can catch my talk with Craig Lutke of the Bilge Pumps on episode 53 of Under the Crossbones if you want to go find that. Also performing on Pirates of the Prairie 6 is Pride of Bedlam. Yes, Pride of Bedlam. Everybody loves Pride of Bedlam. Another huge favorite of the Texas pirate scene. And you can hear my talk with Dane Bennett of Pride of Bedlam in episode 59. So go check those out if you want to find out more. And you'll also be treated to some salty pirate poetry by Sea Dog Slam in the lobby before the show. And tickets are just $12, $5 for the kids, and it's a family-friendly show. Man, that is an event that is cheap to do it, and you should go. Get your tickets before this thing sells out by going to underthecrossbones.com/bilge, and that will take you right to the page where you can buy tickets. Again, that's underthecrossbones.com/bilge. That's Pirates on the Prairie 6, featuring the Bilge Pumps, Pride of Bedlam, and Sea Dog Slam on Saturday, February 11th at the Uptown Theater in Grand Prairie, Texas. Get those tickets at underthecrossbones.com/bilge. We're also sponsored today by Pirate Radio of the Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best pirate music and pirate radio talk. You can listen to Under the Crossbones on there, which you may be doing right this very second, and good for you. Just go to Pirate Radio of the TreasureCoast.com or PirateRadioTC.com, and don't forget to download their apps, Pirate Radio Treasure Coast, which is their music station, Pirate Radio Talk, which is their talk station, and you can listen to all the other great shows and Under the Crossbones over there. If you want the free ebook, Alexander X. Quemlin's Pirates of Panama or Buccaneers of America, real easy, seminal, beautiful, wonderfully written pirate stories, true stories from the golden age of piracy. And I've got a free copy of it for you. Go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the free ebook link, and you can download it right there. If you're out and about and you don't have time or a browser or the wherewithal to type an entire URL into a browser somewhere, and all you got is your cell phone, all you have to do is text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Just text the word pirate and your email address to 94253, and it'll kick you back a little link to download Pirates of Panama, all right? And it's a great book. You're definitely going to dig it. So, comedy and music today. Comedy. Let's start with the comedy. I have a comedy clip for you today from a comic from London. His name is Stuart Goldsmith, and he is so great. Here's where I know Stuart from. Stuart runs a podcast called The Comedian's Comedian, which you should check out. If you have even the vaguest interest in stand-up comedy, it is a fantastic podcast. And he He talks to mostly British comedians, many of whom I was not familiar with until listening to this show. And it goes deep into the game of stand-up comedy. And he gets deep into their psyches and their writing techniques and all sorts of stuff. And it's a really cool podcast to listen to. Like I said, if you have even a vague interest in stand-up comedy, not doing it, just listening to it or whatever, please don't do it. We don't need any more. There's too many already of us. But you should check the podcast out at comedianscomedian.com. Definitely check that out. And so Stuart sent a copy of his latest album called An Hour. That's the name of the show. It's called An Hour, which it's not actually a whole hour, but he talks about that in the show. Anyway, it's really funny. And when he sent it, I was like, oh, okay, this is like one of those times where I really want it to be good because I'm familiar with the guy's podcast, and I don't want to have to go, oh, yeah, it's pretty good, man. Here's the thing. I didn't have to do that at all. I actually listened to it while I was out Christmas shopping in December. Hilarious, like laughing out loud. And here's the thing. Comedians don't laugh out loud that much. We are so jaded to the whole comedy thing because we know how the gears work. We see how it's put together. I was seriously laughing out loud spectacularly throughout Stuart's special called An Hour. So I asked him if I could play a little clip of it for you here, and I'm going to, and then you should go buy yourself a copy of the whole special at stuartgoldsmith.co.uk or comedianscomedian.com. All right, so we're going to hear some Stuart Goldsmith today. Now, as far as music, here's the thing I'm dealing with. There is no proper legal way of playing music or comedy, for that matter, on a podcast like this. There's not the laws around copyright and things like that don't have a mechanism for us to do this properly. Now, if you're listening on Pirate Radio, the Treasure Coast, they actually do have a license for the music, and the musicians get paid there. On here, they basically just give me permission to play their song, but there's no mechanism for them to get paid from this, and that produces problems. So technically, playing the music, not totally legal, but the bands give me permission to do that. So that's all legit between me and the bands. But between me and the bands and the government, there's a whole other thing happening, right? So I'm having trouble getting bands to send me music on a regular basis. I have to go hunt up a band every week, and it's just because no band would ever think to send their music to a pirate podcast. That's cool, whatever. That's fine. I've pretty much hit up all my close friends that I like and whatever. So the music part of this show, and I want your feedback on this, I really do, because it may come and go a little bit when I have an appropriate song to play. Certainly if I'm interviewing a band or something like that, or I run across something I really want to play for you, I will play it for you, and we'll figure out the legal stuff later as far as sponsors, and yeah, it gets weird. There's all sorts of legal things to deal with, but I would like to keep playing music for you. But if you don't care, then I won't. So here, the feedback I would like from you is, I know you like the interviews, because that's why we're here, for the interviews, right? But if you like the comedy and the music stuff, let me know. Or if you don't care about it, let me know that too. If you don't care, if you just fast forward through that part of the show, let me know that. If you that's your favorite part of the show, let me know that. I want to find out what you think about the comedy music portion of the show, so that I know whether I should keep hunting it up, because it's extra work, and I like doing it. I like bringing you extra stuff. I think it's fun to expose my friends to you and all that kind of stuff. So here's what we're going to do today. I don't actually have a song for the show today, because I didn't have time to go hunt one up. I've been busy doing shows myself. But what I can do, and this is totally legal, which is weird, as long as I don't play the song in the show, then it's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to the show notes, right? And if we go to the show notes, then I can play anything for you. I can play anything that's available for you there, which is a whole bunch easier. So if you go to the show notes today, I'm going to play you a song on the show notes that is by Butch Walker, who is one of my all-time favorite singer-songwriters, and it's a song called Synthesizer, which is one of my favorite songs by Butch Walker. All right, so we'll put the video of that in the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/074. But here on the show, you can listen to Stuart Goldsmith and a clip from his show called An Hour. All right? That's enough talking. Let's hear some Stuart Goldsmith, and then you head over to the show notes, and you can hear some Butch Walker right there. All right? Here we go.
But when I exercise, the 2 days on out of the 6 months off, whenever I exercise, I'm as smug as the next person. Of course I am. I do the first 10 minutes, I think, yeah, I'm going to run every day. I don't know what I was worried about. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's going to change my life. And then around about the 11th minute, I start bargaining with myself. I start negotiating as to when I'm allowed to stop. But the problem is, the person that I'm negotiating with isn't some sergeant major that wants me to succeed. It's just me. So I'm going, I was going to do 10 laps, but maybe I'll just do like 9 laps. And my conscience is going, yeah, fine. But you don't want me to do more? God, no, let's pack it in. I hate it. Horrible. I don't want to be here either. I hate it more than you, and I haven't got to do it. I'm just your conscience. I haven't got legs. Oh, maybe I'll just do 3. Do 1. Do none. Go home. Maybe I'll stop and have some water. Pint. And then 10 minutes later, me and my conscience are sat in the pub together. God, we smashed that. Yes, we did. Well done, us. You realise we'll get fat? Plenty of happy fat people. They do seem happy.
And that is our show for today, friends. Thank you for tuning in once again. Thank you for telling your friends. Thank you for listening, whatever venue you're listening to the show in. If you want to find out more about my guest, Lee Arenberg, you can visit him on Twitter at Lee Arenberg. If you want to find out more about Stuart Goldsmith and hear more of his great comedy, go to stuartgoldsmith.co.uk or thecomedianscomedian.com. There's no the in that. Just comedianscomedian.com. That's his podcast over there. Fantastic podcast. You should definitely check out. Again, come on over to the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/074 where you can get all the links. I'm going to have some Butch Walker music there for you since we didn't play any in the show today, and notes about Lee and all that kind of good stuff, and it's going to be great. If you have a guest suggestion for the show or you think you yourself might be a good guest on the show, be sure to contact me and let me know. And if it's a good fit, we'll get you on. I'm always looking for great guests. So underthecrossbones.com/074. If you need to contact me personally, just email Phil at underthecrossbones.com. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye.